Previously on the Anti-Trekker, my childhood was destroyed. On Octu, Luke is looking very much how I feel at this point. Sick to my stomach. Rey explains to Luke that Kylo is beyond redemption and the First Order will have control of all the major systems within weeks. Wait, huh? Okay, let me go back and check something. Hold on just a second. Let me dig around here, and yeah, here it is. Opening crawl, first paragraph, in fact, first sentence. The First Order reigns. Huh. So, not only is this film inconsistent with prior Star Wars films, but it cannot even follow its own narrative. But then that's brilliant, because that's not what you would expect. You see, almost every film goes out of its way to try and maintain something called continuity. But, by being subversive, Rian Johnson is brilliant. At least that's what most of the defenders of this film keep telling me. Therefore, it is brilliant to not follow your own established plot, because who would expect that?
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
Where was I? Oh yeah, the First Order. So they're going to take over in a few weeks, and they need the Jedi back. They need Luke Skywalker. And this homeless guy pretending to be Luke says, and I quote, "You think what, that I'm going to walk out there with a laser sword and face down the whole First Order?" Well, first of all, yes. Well, I would not call a lightsaber a laser sword. I do not care if that's what George Lucas called it. That sounds stupid. But yes, that is what a hero does. They face impossible odds for what is good and right and just and all that. They do not give up and ignore the suffering of others when it becomes inconvenient. Luke is a coward. The going got tough and he quit. It's not just that Luke couldn't handle it. Luke is literally the only person in the universe that could stand up to Kylo and Snoke. Luke is the only person who could put an end to the First Order. But he chooses to run away from his problems and live on an island with cute birds and lizard ladies because, and I know you think I'm going to say the Force, but no, because Rian Johnson has no idea what he's working with, or he's purposely crapping all over a hero just because he thinks it's cool to make everyone, even the one incorruptible soul, into a piece of shit. I know I use the technical difficulties thing as a joke, but I actually had to take a break from writing this review because I was getting so mad at Rian Johnson. Luke explains that he came to the island not to learn, not to soul search, not to decide on what to do next, but just to die. He's given up to the point that he just wants to die. In the back of my mind, I can hear the voice of Darth Vader saying,
"Now his failure is complete."
So next, we get the rather pointless montage of a typical day for Luke. He hikes to the water and, we get this for some reason. So I thought about it, and knowing how rich with symbolism film can be, I realized that what this sequence truly means. You see, the sea cow represents the fans of Star Wars. Luke is Lucasfilm, and the green milk, well, that's the money that in the hands of Star Wars fans. You see, Star Wars fans are so fat, lazy, and stupid that Lucasfilm can just walk up and squeeze us for whatever they want and drink up your... You know what? I am giving them way too much credit. Really, this was just Rian Johnson going...
Boobs. Green milk.
After being violated by Luke, the sea cow looks at Rey as if to say,
"It's okay. I can't feel the pain anymore. You can abuse me if you want to."
After Rey apparently declines the opportunity to commit an unspeakable act against nature, Luke, for some reason, vaults across this span of water using the conveniently located 100-foot pole that, despite the fact that they're at an island with frequent rain and high winds, never blows over. I guess he can also use it to stab fish? Now, somehow from 100 feet up on a cliff, Luke can see a fish swimming and stab it with pinpoint accuracy, and then somehow manage to lift it out of the water. I mean, how did he even lift the pole? And look at the size of that fish. I'm sure that some of you may have noticed that I'm not using my standard excuse of the Force like I normally do for stuff like this. And that's because we specifically find out later that Luke has cut himself off from the Force, which means we can't use that excuse. Quantum? Oh, look, Rey has some kind of glowing thingy. I'm sure that that's not just some conveniently timed reveal because we forgot to write something in to make an upcoming scene make sense. And just to be clear, since I'm sure you already know that this retcon tracking beacon that her bestest buddy in the whole universe, Leia, gave to her for reasons... Oh, wait. She did not cut herself off, so the Force. But given what it is and what it's for, why would Rey have it anywhere but safely stored on the Falcon? Why take a chance at losing it on the island? Whatever. Rey feels a calling to an old hollowed out tree because why not? And here is another splendid example of how Rian Johnson is the worst person on the planet. So he crapped all over the fact that the lightsaber was calling to Rey in The Force Awakens.
No, folks, that was meaningless. Just something to be tossed aside.
But here, when this tree calls her,
oh, that's important.
But no, you take away any sense of this being meaningful because you've already established that an inanimate object calling out to a person, specifically to Rey, is meaningless. So I do not care. Inside the tree are books, which you know must be very, very important. They're not, so who cares? Luke shows up to reveal that these are the original Jedi texts, which, okay, could be cool, except that it's not, because Rian Johnson is an idiot. Luke is acting so inconsistent, it is just stupid. This would be like an atheist spending his life protecting a collection of biblical texts because they're important for the beliefs that he thinks are inherently destructive. We find out that Luke believes that the Jedi are wrong, that they cause the problems that the universe is facing. So why would he go out of his way to protect the books? This makes no sense.
You've seen this place. You've seen this island.
Only in dreams.
Who are you?
The Resistance sent me.
They sent you. What's special about you? Where are you from?
Nowhere.
No one's from nowhere.
Jakku.
All right, that is pretty much nowhere. Why are you here, Rey, from nowhere?
The Resistance sent me. We need your help. The First Order's become unstoppable.
Why are you here?
Well, Luke is now being interesting. Mysterious, enigmatic. You get the feeling that he's a wise master, which would be cool if not for the fact that this is completely inconsistent with the character we've been following around for the last few minutes. Look, I like this scene. Even the little joke about Jakku being nowhere felt more natural than the forced humor from other parts of this film. Had Luke been like this throughout the film, he could have been interesting, but we just got set up that he's a coward, so what gives? Oh, because it's subversive. Yay. So Luke asks Rey why she is there, and she tells him about how she's being called by the Force and she's scared. So Luke remembers that he's supposed to be a grumpy old coward and refuses to help. And Rey pleads for a reason, and he just leaves because subversive. Yay. Meanwhile, back on the cruiser, Leia has a migraine after reading the script for this film. Then she quite literally slaps Poe because of his stupid move going after the Dreadnought, and she also demotes Poe for his disobeying orders. And I have to say I'm with Leia on this. The loss of the Dreadnought was not a major setback for the First Order. The Resistance lost 2/3 of its attack wing because of Poe's little stunt. Poe tried to argue that it was the right thing to do, but Leia's not hearing it, and she says that there are some things that cannot be solved by climbing into an X-wing and blowing stuff up. Meanwhile, Finn is concerned that because they're in the middle of nowhere, Rey will not be able to find them. But wait, Leia has a magic friendship bracelet that will get her back. Okay, it's not called a magic friendship bracelet. What it is called is a cloaked binary beacon. This is Star Wars, right? Because that just sounds a little too Star Trek, but whatever. So Finn asks Leia what the plan is, and Leia says they need to find a new base. Now, remember that for later. Finn, who is not an officer of the Resistance, and in fact, a few days ago was a stormtrooper for the First Order, is told what the plan is. I'm sure that will not come up later. Anyway, this person says that they need to find a place where there's enough power to get a distress signal out to their allies. Allies? What allies? Wait a minute. Let me go back to the records again and let's see. Yeah, here it is. Paragraph 2, the opening crawl, says that only Leia's band of Resistance fighters stands against the First Order. So what allies are we? Subversion. Yeah, you know, it seems like there's a lot going on that we are just not being told about, but whatever.
Proximity alert!
Okay. I love Admiral Akbar as much as the next guy, but really, we have multiple sirens and buzzers blaring out that there's a proximity alert, and he has to tell us that there is a proximity alert. I mean, really? I have to admit, the shot of the First Order's fleet jumping in is pretty darn good. Snoke's flagship is actually kind of cool. So now that the First Order has jumped in, the Supremacy immediately uses its main cannon blast to destroy the cruiser. Oh, wait, no. Apparently, even though the Supremacy is the biggest, baddest ship ever built, it lacks the firepower of the Dreadnought. So instead, the Dreadnoughts open fire. They don't bother to bring any Dreadnoughts with them because... subversion? Yeah. Poe suggests jumping to light speed to escape since they have just enough fuel for one more jump. Because, you know, we have always had ships running out of fuel before in Star Wars. Subversion. Yeah. But Leia figures out that they tracked them through light speed. And Finn says, that's impossible. Finn says, that's impossible. I'm sure that's not coming back later. Poe, in a nice callback to when Leia was dressing him down earlier, asks for permission to climb into his X-Wing and blow stuff up. Leia gives him the go-ahead. The music begins. Everybody rushes to battle stations. It looks like we're in for a big battle.
Follow my lead.
Okay, look, I could do a whole video on that one clip. And yes, the fact that the shots from the Supremacy are indirect fire in space is, well, confusing at best. At least in the prior battle, my gripes about gravity could be argued, albeit inaccurately, that they're in close proximity to a planet which could explain away some of the gravity. At least the bombs could be magnetic, even though there's no on-screen evidence for this. But here we have a battle in deep space, nowhere near a planet, and they're lobbing, lasers at them? Yes, the physics of the weapon systems are unclear, and some argue they're energy weapons, some say they're plasma-based, some argue that they're standard projectiles, but this is deep space. It really would not matter. The only way to arc weapons fire like that would be if the weapons are guided missiles or something, and they are purposefully wanting to arc them. Because, you know, why would you want to hit their engines? Whatever. You know what? Just for argument's sake, I will assume that they are in fact guided missiles, and the First Order does not want to take out their engines for reasons, you know, just to be subversive. Yeah, as bad as that is, the worst part of this battle is that we have six Star Destroyers and the Supremacy itself. Now, doing a little bit of quick research, the Resurgence-class Star Destroyer, which is what we have here, carries 2 wings of fighters. Each wing consists of 48 TIE fighters, 12 TIE bombers, and 12 TIE interceptors. Now, I couldn't find any info as to how many fighters would be on the Supremacy herself. However, on screen we do see that there are in fact TIE fighters in her landing bay. So let's be conservative and just say that the Supremacy has the fighter equivalent of 2 Star Destroyers. That would mean that they have a total of 768 TIE fighters, 192 TIE bombers, and 192 TIE interceptors, plus 1 TIE silencer, assuming the Kylo's ship is unique. So that means they have 1,153 strike craft available to attack the entire Resistance as it sits right in front of them. So they launch 3 TIE fighters and Kylo in his TIE silencer. So 4 fighters out of 1,153 because subversion. Yeah. Remember when I said earlier that the First Order was literally suffering from mild mental retardation? Somewhere, Rian Johnson is laughing. Kylo and his attack force of 3 TIE fighters close in on the fleet. And, oh yeah, I remember her now. It's the Blue Leader. Is that her name? Or anyway, the Resistance pilots are preparing to engage. And it seems like this is kind of going to be a one-sided fight, because I can count in their hangar at least 2 A-Wings and 4 X-Wings, plus Poe's super-duper black X-Wing. So yeah, this is going to be an easy win for the Resistance. For some reason, shields do not seem to work against fighters in Star Wars, even though they stop the long-range artillery from Snoke's ship. And while their defensive guns from the Raddus take out 1 of the 3 escorts that Kylo is with, the other 2 fighters and Kylo do some serious damage to the Raddus. But that's okay. Once the Resistance gets all those fighters launched, everything will be just fine. Unfortunately for the Resistance, Kylo truly is his grandfather's grandson as he tries spinning, because that's a neat trick. and then flies into the ship and blows up the landing bay of the Raddus, destroying all of the Resistance strike craft and killing all the pilots. And this is Poe being sent back after the flames actually hit him. Note all the shrapnel from the exploded ships in the hangar. So those are metal fragments flying around. So even if the shockwave did not kill him, the shrapnel would have shredded him. So Poe is just fine, not even cut, just some dirt on his hands and face. No doubt the smudged ashes of his fellow pilots who were incinerated by the blast. So Poe and Leia both realize that they have to get out of range of the Star Destroyers. You know, because they've done no damage to them at all, and the TIE fighters are ripping them to shreds. But if they can get out of the range of the Star Destroyers, the fighters will fall back because the Force. As they begin to accelerate, Kylo gets a lock on the bridge of the Raddus, but he doesn't take the shot. Clearly, he's conflicted about killing his own mother. This is a nice little character moment for the middle of a battle. Well, the TIE fighter pilots do not have any compunction about killing Leia, so they just launch their missiles at the Raddus. They score a direct hit on the bridge. Leia, along with the rest of the command crew, are instantly killed and blown out into space. And so, the bridge is destroyed, the command crew is dead. All the strike craft are gone. The Resistance is completely defenseless and utterly defeated. So, of course, Hux Skypes Kylo and orders him back to the fleet since the Resistance had pulled out of range of the Star Destroyer's weapons, which did no damage, but yeah. Wow. This is just... no, really. What? I need to stop. My head hurts.
Hit the like button, you will. Likes lead to comments. Comments lead to conversations. Conversations lead to understanding. Go to Patreon and support the anti-trucker you must, if supporting his videos you want. Yes, support his videos. Then listen to this at the end of the videos. You will not